Okay, new surrounding. I'm in my office at Harvey College, just waiting for Samantha to join in. Hopefully she will come soon. Oh,
Hi.
oh, hey, hello. New
Hi.
surrounding. I'm in,
Yeah, 'cause
I'm in,
um, me too, and where I'm sitting because
you can't go in
some
the,
messier in there. It's okay. It's fine. I have my earbuds in, so it's
okay.
okay. Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Graph group. Really, I guess, including the Graph Girls, because we are still Graph Girls. And today's IG Live, we are going to discuss pricing of homes in today's market. And there's sort of two schools of thought on it. So we're going to share those.
Whoops, you just, okay. I think you just froze, and let's see if you come back on. Let's see. Okay, you're there, but not there. I think your internet is having a problem. I keep accepting, but you're not joining. I think there's a problem. Oops. Try again. Invite. Maybe that will work. You're frozen, totally frozen. Yep. Okay, let's try again. No. Oh,
There we
you're
go.
totally frozen.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. Sorry about that. I've got full bars, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure why. Anyways, we're going to talk about the two different schools of thought on pricing. So the first school of thought that we will discuss is pricing the home either where the seller is willing to accept very close to that number and holding back offers and or going considerably lower if they want to take that risk. But we usually say to go to a place where you're comfortable accepting the number, because if you go too low and things don't work out, because it is a risk strategy and pricing, then it never looks really good to put the price up higher, quite frankly. So that's one. And Cheryl, do you want to talk about pros and cons of the holdback of offers?
Well, I think that when you hold back an offer, what we're trying to do is get people to get off that fence, especially in this market, and sort of push them to make that decision rather than just leaning back. So this way, something comes, they like it, go for it. It isn't that it's always going to go way over or way under where it is. We had a perfect example last night, fingers crossed,
Mm-hmm.
that were listed, and when it came to market about 45 days ago, it was listed about 10, 15,000 because it was a condo below what anything had sold for in the building. Lo and behold, the market changed. It kept going down, down, down. So what we did was we canceled the listing. We brought it down to a price where another sale just occurred about 2 weeks ago, just a little bit below that because we had to adjust it for location and different sizing. And we had one offer last night. One other person said they didn't want to compete, and it went just a tad over the asking. The sellers were very happy because they know now they can move on with their lives. That's basically what it is, that we want to be able to help people go along the path that they really want to go on.
I think that also with the having an offer date is a little bit of peace of mind for everybody. It's definitely stressful during the time up to it. There is no doubt for the seller, even for Cheryl and I when we do it. But at the end of the day, you have an offer date, which is, I think, in people's majority of people, not everybody, but people like a schedule. They like to know when is that date. And yes, there will, so this is part of the con maybe for some people, in that there'll be people who say, well, I'm not going to compete. So they don't even come to paper. So there's sort of that negative sort of side of it that, one can say or argue, that I don't like that idea because they're not going to compete and it makes people uncomfortable. But like Shell addressed in a little bit before, that the fact of the matter is that it doesn't always go crazy over. And like I just acknowledged, sometimes it's just a scheduling thing. It creates a little more like stability in a way because there's more of, people have a need to know. And it sort of fulfills that need to know a little bit more.
I think it also is that when you have a date, it doesn't mean you're always going to get an offer. So don't be disappointed if you don't, because just as Smith said, people don't want to compete, but what they will do a day or two later, the agent is calling to find out, did it sell? Then you know you have an interested party, and then they will come to paper. Last night we were lucky that they went just that tad over because I had spoken to the agent and I said, you know what, sometimes you just need to do that little bit over to secure it. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the other thing. When the other school of thought, because this sort of plays into it, what I'm about to say, is that people, a lot of sellers believe that putting a really high price tag on your home will bring the price that you really are willing to accept. Well, here's the con on that. There's a lot of people that won't bother looking at your house even because it doesn't fall in their price range. Yes, their agent might either skip it or that's one thing. The agent will skip it, the client will skip it. Or they'll just say, oh my God, they're so out to lunch. They don't really want to sell. So those are sort of the messages that sends. Now in today's market, we also acknowledge that the sellers who feel that way, yes, the mentality of a buyer right now could be, well, I'm not going to pay whatever price they're asking. I'm not going to pay because the media says the market is down and I think the market's going to go down more, so I'm not going to pay their price. Well, you may or may not have, quite frankly, a real buyer in those people. They're looking for a deal. Yes, sorry, I take that back. They might be a real buyer, but they're a bargain hunter buyer and they're not prepared to pay what today's market might be. Now, that being said, that seller might also not be willing to sell for what today's market is.
It's also the fact that it's priced too high. What an agent will do is say, let's go look at this home. And then they go look at 2 or 3 other homes. And you are just helping that agent sell another home. They're using your home. Oh,
Blake?
my Blakey.
Hello,
That's it.
Blake.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
It's this weekend.
Buffalo. We're going to see you. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. Our grand.
Blake, hold on, wait. Oh, who cares? Family trumps everything. Steve and I would be there, but we're off actually for business, which will be exciting videos coming soon, to Portugal for some real estate there. So we'll get to see that. But we will see you soon, and we can't wait to see all the
Yeah.
videos.
Anyway, okay. Now my whole train of thought because of. But anyway, pricing it too high, you are just helping the other people to sell their listings. So it could be a big
Absolutely.
disadvantage. But again, in today's market, if you see a property and you know it's way high, then if you're a seasoned agent, or that it's something your buyer would like, then call that listing agent and speak with them, because then you'll know whether or not the flexibility is there, because sometimes the agent will take it to satisfy the seller, but 2 or 3 weeks later, they're going to see a price reduction. So why not see it? And if you do get your seller and you have a high price, sometimes look at that offer very carefully, because too many times in this market, the sellers say, I wish I took that price. So,
And that was advice for other realtors, basically, but also for the buyers that are watching this. You should also keep in mind, don't be afraid to ask your agent to put in a lower offer, because there are sellers with this mentality or school of thought, as I originally had stated, that price their house this way because they feel that the mentality of the buyer is that it's going to be lower, and they don't want to entertain something ridiculously low. So it is, in essence, ridiculously low compared to their asking price, but it might not be ridiculously low to what the market value is. So 100% reach out to your agent and ask their opinion if you see something that might be out of your price range a little, but you feel like it could work for you. And your agent will hopefully be very honest with you and share with you what they really think the market value is. Can they tell you what it's actually going to sell for? No, they probably won't be able to, because they don't know the seller. They don't know the seller's situation, but they can find out information from the other agent.
there is another way that you can do it, which I mentioned very briefly in the beginning, is you price it very low, well below market, and then you will hope to get multiple offers. Sometimes it can backfire, and then you have to wind up raising the price, and then it takes that much longer. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't, but it's taking a gamble.
Yeah, and in this market right now, I think that you don't want to be that person who goes back on the market. So when you are pricing your home, my first preference is to do it as close as possible to where the market is going to actually bring you an offer.
And I think you should hold back offers when you put the new listing out, simply because that way you get people more showings and more activity, and hopefully an offer. Even if it's priced right, it'll go quicker
Yeah,
that way.
and that's why I say pricing it right as opposed to pricing it way above. You're not going to get the showings. So in that window of holding back, you're not underpricing it. You're just pricing it for market value. And you probably will also increase your showings. Increasing your showings, meaning increasing the number of people who go through your home, and therefore increases your chances of receiving an offer sooner than later.
Yeah.
So that's the wrap up.
Yeah.
And
Today.
sorry.
No, that's it for today.
Yeah, I think that's it for today. And I very quickly sort of mentioned Portugal. So stay tuned and watch for that because it's going to be fun.
Okay.
All right. Take care. See you later next week.
Bye.
Bye.